Hello and welcome to episode 18 of McVeigh Meets. I'm Paul McVeigh even, and these days I'm a keynote speaker, although you would never believe it with that introduction. But really pleased and delighted you could join us today wherever you are around the world. And if you watched me yesterday, you would have seen me speaking with two former teammates of mine, Jim Magilton and Father Philip Moran, who is an ex-Manchester United player and now a current Catholic priest, and that was absolutely fascinating, as you can imagine. So, if you're joining us for the first time, I should just let you know why I'm doing this. I really wanted to raise a little bit of money for the NHS because I felt a little bit helpless in the current situation, and apart from staying at home and social distancing, I'm not really doing a lot. So, I thought if I can reach out, have a few interviews with what I would consider some of the most successful and high profile people that I know and just see what lessons we could hear and learn from them and their journeys and their careers. But I'm absolutely delighted to say that the £1,000 target actually this morning has just been reached. So really, really pleased that we've got it. We also had another IG Live last night with former Southampton defender Francis Benali and talked about the amazing fundraising that he has done since he stopped playing football, and he's actually raised over £1 million for charity. So I've got a little bit of a while to go to try and catch Franny. But that brings me to my two guests today, and I'm really, really pleased to say that two former Irish rugby players, Rory Best and Tommy Bowe, are joining me this afternoon. So lads, which one of you is going to become a priest next?
That's Father Best, I reckon.
I was going to leave that one up to Tommy to answer. I think Tommy's
I
the
think
closest that we have to
the
priest between the two
farming,
of
the
us.
farming and the priesthood, I think, would suit you well, Roar. You could have your
I'm sure.
sermons. I
No,
mean, he used
I
to have
find the.
sermons on the sermons in the changing room all the time. We could never shut him up, so he'd be perfect for the priesthood.
I'm not sure. I think the farming's hard enough. So yeah, we'll leave that.
I'll leave that to you. Well, listen, lads, I really appreciate you joining me. It was brilliant having the two guys on yesterday, and obviously just that little bit of banter that you normally get in the changing room, and suddenly, as this getting streamed out across Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, I'd love to have the banter and just try and keep the language down to a minimum. But like Davina, you're live on, going live with everyone. So, but lads, what's your experience of lockdown been like? Obviously, very very difficult for all of us at the minute. But Tommy, let's start with you. How's your experience been?
I'll be honest with you, I found it pretty difficult. Certainly the first couple of weeks, I'm very used to. I'm retired from rugby almost 2 years now, so it's been a hectic 2 years. I've been extremely busy. I've been in the car an awful lot, driving all over Ireland, doing a load of different things. So the lockdown kind of hit me hard, but we also had a new baby boy 8 weeks ago as well. So he arrived the week before the lockdown happened. So that's been another area that certainly hit us like a ton of bricks. So we've got a 3-year-old girl who pretty much I am man marking at the minute, and my wife Lucy is looking after Jamie, the 8-week-old. So it's been it's been a struggle, and probably been busier than I've ever been just looking after a three year
Yeah.
old. But I think we're
Uh,
we're all kind of coming to terms with it now.
yeah, no, I get that. And what about you, Rory? How's yours been?
Um, you know, outside of the reality of what's going on, and you listen to the news and it scares the life out of you. There's been a little bit of, I suppose, for the last 10 years, my eldest will be 10 in June, and for the last 10 years, I kind of feel that I haven't been around much. Been, like Tommy says, you're away a lot, and it's been quite nice to spend a little with them where we don't have anything to do, anywhere to go. I'm not being dragged left and right. I've been, on one hand, able to get out of the house a little bit because of the farm. My dad went into isolation for 2 weeks because my brother and sister came home for London. So I kind of took over the bits of the cattle that he'd been doing every day. So, look, it's very much an isolated anyway, but I was able to get out and do a bit of that, which got me away. So I think it's a 10 plus year to do list that I've been trying to work my way through, which I've been obviously skirting around for so long with, I'm too busy to do this, or I'm away, I'll do that when I come back, I'll do that later. So I've been able to get through a bit of that, and like, it's extremely difficult and unnerving scenario we're in, and look, we're just trying to make the best of it. You get to you get the real sad bits where the kids are badly missing school and they're missing their friends and they're missing that interaction. But ultimately, it's been quite nice to spend a little bit of time as a family, be it circumstances.
Yeah, and actually, just as you mentioned there, Rory, you just talked about, kind of coming out of rugby, and actually, Tom, I'd like to hear your part of this first. How did you find the kind of the challenges of coming out of this, kind of top level elite sport and career, and then suddenly that's gone, and you have to find a completely different direction?
I mean, you could talk about this for half an hour. The transition is something that a lot of people talk about, and certainly finishing up the game of rugby, it's all I'd known for the last 14, 15 years. Pretty much my whole life was all geared up about trying to become a professional rugby player, and I have some incredible memories. But in the last 2 or 3 years of my career, I picked up an awful lot of injuries. I was just constantly battling to stay fit, battling to stay in the teams. So I actually was lucky enough. I kind of made the decision that it was going to be my final year. I am involved in a clothing and shoe business. I was able to concentrate a lot on that. I'm trying to get into broadcasting as well, so I was able to concentrate on that and work in a few different television programs. So moving from retiring with rugby, I went straight into presenting the Pro 14 on Air Sport, which is completely different ball game. And whenever you have 10 people or 5 people in your ear telling you you're going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with a script that you have to say down the lens of the camera, it's a new adrenaline rush, and that's really given me the buzz, because having that buzz of running out onto a rugby pitch, you're never going to get that again. You're never going to get the kick that you get from scoring a try in the Kingspan Stadium. So you have to try and get your kick somewhere else when you retire, and that's been one area that's helped me with my transition. But it's still an ongoing process. I'm only 2 years into it, and I'm still trying to find the routine that I think is so important.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that because I was actually telling a friend of mine recently how whenever I was, I joined Tottenham Hotspur in 1994, and I remember going into the change room, full of those senior professionals and, very experienced guys who'd sort of been there and seen, done everything in football. And some of the phrases they were coming out with were things like, you know, football playing days are the best days of your life. You need to, play as long as you can, and kind of once you retire, you'll be a long time retired. And all of these things made me think that actually every single statement meant that as soon as I finished playing football, my life's going downhill, which wasn't
Yeah.
really something that inspired me. And I didn't like the fact that if that was the belief that I had, then pretty much this football time is it, and everything else is almost gonna never live up to it. But
But
I'm
you
guessing, Roy,
probably
you're
grew
probably
up.
least one out of it. Go on, Tommy, go on.
I mean, you grew up to be wanting to be a professional footballer, like myself and Rory, to be a rugby player. So to try and better that, we probably won't be able to get better than that. But to try and get up to that sort of level that some of those matches that myself, yourself, and Rory have been involved in, if we can try and replicate to some level in life after sport, I think we're doing very well.
But do you not think the different experiences that you have outside of sport, that though they're the kind of things that you won't always have when you're actually, in sport, that's one type of experience. But once you get outside of the sport, then there's a whole world full of experiences that we've never known.
Absolutely,
Yeah, I
and
think I
and
think the
spending time with your kids. Sorry, Roar.
no, go on.
Go
I
ahead,
was
Roy.
just going to say, I think that probably one of the biggest challenges is, and I remember somebody telling me it, and I kind of laughed at them, was to say that I think the sooner that you can let go of Rory Best, the rugby player, or Tommy Bowe, the rugby player, and just embrace the fact you're retired, and like you say, that there are loads of other things that you get to do. I think I was similar to Tommy in that I got to pick when I exited, and not a lot of people get to do that. I was a wee bit luckier in that I didn't have the run of injuries going into it, but I think by the time I walked off the field for the last time, there was almost a bit of a, do you know what, I'm glad aspects of this is over. The pressure of playing international rugby, going to a World Cup, especially that last season with Ireland, where it was everyone was having a go at us. We weren't performing to the level that we'd done 12 months previous, and all of that adds up, and it takes its toll on the family. And While there are massive aspects of it I miss, probably the biggest thing that I miss is walking into training every day with sort of 30, 40 guys that you're either very friendly with, that you play rugby with, but all of them you can have a bit of crack with in their different ways, and you don't get that anymore. It's just me, Jody, and the kids, which is great, but it's not the same sort of environment that you have within a professional rugby setup. But I think that's what I miss the most. And then obviously you watch back to some of the big games, or they're not on at the minute, but even the start of the build up to that European Cup quarter final that Ulster were meant to be playing in. Those are the little bits that you go, yeah. And they stir a little bit of emotion inside you as you think back. I remember going to play in Toulouse with Ulster and how tough it was, but when you come away with a win, it was incredible in that changing room afterwards.
Yeah, and I suppose it's almost like it depends how you look at it, because if you feel that once you've had those experiences, are you like we're all at a stage where that's gone and that'll never be sort of replaced? But do you look back on it with kind of just gratitude and yeah, I love the fact that I was in that 0.001% of people who've actually done that, as opposed to pining for it as we go through the rest of their lives. And that's what I didn't like and didn't accept those beliefs that the playing days are the best days of your lives, because this is only from my point of view. But 10 years ago, whenever I decided to stop playing football professionally, it was the best decision I ever made. And I've got to say, for the last 10 years, I've just experienced things that I would never experience, even though I had an amazing life in football. But the last 10 years have probably been, a broader quality of my life and a much richer and deeper in terms of the experiences that I've had.
Yeah, but I think you've got those experiences probably from what you've done in football as well. And also to get to the top in sport, especially at the top level, you have to sacrifice so much. I mean, to be a professional sports person, you do have to sacrifice a broad spectrum of things. And Rory mentioned it there about being away from his kids. You have to sacrifice missing weddings, missing birthdays, missing family events. But you do that because the reward of playing top level sport and representing your country and playing in big matches is worth it. And you know that it's not going to last forever, so that when you do retire in your early 30s, you can then go on to experience so many more things. So I think it's about making the most of what you can when you are in that bubble of playing. And now when life after sport is here, it's about trying to look at those opportunities of what is available for me, what can I get into, and what am I interested in that I want to experience. And if you can find something that really flicks the switch for you, go searching for it and really try and go for it, because there's so many opportunities out there now.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and actually, it's interesting because in the last 10 years, I've had tried a couple of different things, and similar to you, Tommy, I was doing some work in the media and working for Sky Sports, doing the Soccer Saturday and a range of other things in the media. And it was only when I came across the keynote speaking that I realized actually this is the thing for me that I love doing. It gives me an opportunity to travel the world, speak in front of, audiences, get that, sort of that little buzz, as well as being able to impact and share your experiences. But I should just say, because I know there's going to be loads of people joining us now, and they'll be constantly joining through Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So if you are joining us, I'm here with Rory Best and Tommy Bowe. Delighted to say two Irish rugby legends are with me this afternoon, and we're just trying to raise a little bit of money for the NHS. So if you would like to donate, please go on to any of my social media profiles, click on my bio and the links in there, or on the Just Giving website, type in McVeigh Meets, and you can donate to my page on there. Lads, let's go back to the start, because whenever we're looking at transitioning out of rugby, but actually before you even get into the professional side of rugby, is this something that you knew you always wanted to do, and even more so, did you believe that you could get to the very, very top? Let's start with Rory.
I think I suppose I'm a little bit older than Tommy, not a lot, but whenever I was growing up, there was no professional rugby. I was born in '82. Rugby didn't go professional really until '95, '96. So, my early days were spent, I suppose, dreaming of being a farmer and playing for Banbridge, and that was kind of where your ambition, because we travelled a lot to watch Ireland games, and some of the Ulster games, which were very sporadic interpros and a few touring sides back then, and that just seemed so far away that it wasn't achievable. And whenever I got to my later school days, my brother Simon probably made it a little bit more of something that could be achieved. He's 4 years older than me, and he went through the Ulster under 18s, Ireland under 18s, 21s, and then eventually into senior professional rugby. And it was at that sort of moment for me that it dawned on me that, look, you can actually play professionally, you can get paid to do this. And it was something that I suppose from that point on, really wanted to do and wanted to be the best. And I played Ireland under 21s actually with Tommy. Tommy came in as this 18-year-old, big gappy smile on him. And I remember we played England actually at Ravenhill in the under 21s, and Tommy scored one of the most ridiculous tries I've ever seen. Well, first of all, he turned up in one of the games with two left boots. He would go and buy himself some boots, and he bought these big, heavy 8-stud Adidas koalas, I think they were back then. I remember going, Tommy, you're a winger. Like, these wingers are wearing like featherweight boots. And he went, oh well, so they'll be grand. Then we get to Ravenhill as it was then, and next thing, Tommy scores this try, and as he's running in, you kind of look and go, does he have only one boot on? And sure enough, one of the big heavy, maybe that's why he was able to skin somebody, because the heavy boot fell off and they gave him an extra couple of yards apiece. But those are the sort of days that you look back at those teams and it was class and it was great, but this was the first time that you're in a team where there's a lot of aspiring professionals in there, but it was great fun. I don't think we probably realised how far away from professional rugby we were. Then we did a lot of celebrating, if I remember, Tommy. But
well, that's it. I don't have many memories of Rory on the pitch, but I certainly have memories of him off the pitch. Leading from the front.
I tell you what, I wouldn't like to be keeping up. That's all I can say. I wouldn't like to be keeping up with you rugby boys. But tell me, what was it like as a youngster? Did you have that thought that actually, there is a way that I can see my kind of career, my life going, or was it just kind of you just happened to be good at it, you were quick, and you kind of just moved from one level to the next?
For me, actually, like Rory, I spent all my childhood going down to the old Lansdowne Road, watching Ireland play, watching Ulster play, and it was always the dream. But actually, whenever I was in school in Armagh, I kind of wasn't the number one player there. Gareth Steenson, who is still the Exeter Chiefs out half, was in that team. He was playing for Ireland schools along with Stephen Auld, who was the scrum half at the time. So I barely even made it into Ulster schools. I didn't play for Ireland schools, and it didn't really look like that rugby was going to become a career for me. My plan was to go off to Scotland and probably take up alcohol as one of the modules. But my A-levels didn't quite go as well as they'd planned, and I owe an awful lot to Alan Clark, who was the head of the Ulster Academy at the time, that he had seen me in a trial match for Ulster schools and Ireland schools and liked something that he'd seen. And when the A-levels didn't go so well for me, I got an offer to go to University of Ulster in Jordanstown, and he asked me to come along for a trial for the Ulster Academy, which I think I had peroxide blonde hair and a blue stripe down the middle of it at the time, coming back from a lad's holiday. So I definitely stood out. But whatever it was, it went really well for me, that trial, and I knew this was my last chance. The A-levels hadn't gone well for me. I didn't make it into Ireland schools, and I saw an opportunity that if I was to put the head down and become a professional and really work hard at this, that there was a pathway. And very quickly, from not playing Ireland schools, I went to play alongside Rory in Irish under 21s, 3 years young. And things kind of progressed really quickly from there. So I put that down to Alan Clark taking a chance on me, but also kind of realizing that if you knuckle down and you work hard and you set yourself a few goals, there's a lot you can achieve from there.
And that's really interesting because out of all of these interviews that I've been doing over the last 10 days or so, everybody from sport to business to media, entrepreneurship, adventurers, and there seems to be a whole lot of common traits that are coming out around leadership, around that self-motivation, that real drive and determined to succeed. And it was interesting you mentioned there, Tommy, having someone to almost guide you and kind of navigate your way through this career. But maybe Rory, what do you think you could say to someone who just might not have that person who's there, been able to help someone mentor you or that sort of role model?
I think probably one of the biggest things is to not allow setbacks define your career. And Tommy talked about not making Ireland schools. I remember leaving. I played Ireland schools, but I applied to be. I was going to go down to UCD to study, hoping to get into the Irish National Academy as it was then. And I remember not getting in, and it was kind of the first time that there was a real setback. I went to a reasonably small rugby school, and everything was just there. Got into last year school, you were captain, Ulster schools, Ireland schools, and then this was the first kind of hammer blow. And I remember being absolutely gutted and thinking that, that's it. I'm no good at rugby. I'm no good. I'm gonna. So I went off to Newcastle upon time to study. And like Tommy, probably
And took up
studied a little bit too much
alcoholism
alcohol. I think that was the only chance me and him had of getting a first in nothing. But it's those, and it's now when you retire and you look back and you reflect on your career, you kind of look at all the setbacks you had. You look at all the great players that you played alongside who had a setback and just couldn't cope with it, who ended up just drifting off. And I would like to think that one of the things that maybe defined my career is the ability to use a setback to my advantage, to kind of, once you learn how to deal with it, and you deal with it even different scenarios in different ways, that you kind of try to allow it to motivate you to be better, and you don't try to listen to the good stuff, which is hard, easy to say, hard to do. But for me, it was always about using the setbacks and the doubts that people had and the doubts you have yourself to drive you on. And I think that is the biggest thing, because too many people, especially at sport, just give up so easily. And you see so many talented people that when the going gets tough, or when they're asked just to push it a little bit further, they just go, no, the easier option is just to go and do something else.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, and as I mentioned in the intro, that I had a really fascinating conversation with Francis Benali last night, and he had nearly 500 games in the Premier League for Southampton, playing with Shearer and Letizia and all those guys, but he was saying that from an early age, I know it's brilliant joking in terms of like going out and having the drinks and stuff, but he realized that he didn't want to drink alcohol because it was going to give him the best opportunity to have a professional career. Now, I had a completely different view on that. I thought, well, I love having that social side in my career, to have an amazing sporting career and have all these amazing social moments with all my friends and family. Do you think there was a point in your career where you kind of thought, this has got me to a certain level of this career, but I need to kind of change something to be able to take me to the very top?
Rory.
Rory's laughing there, isn't he? Have I hit a nerve or?
That's when he made the decision, and that was him. Became a new player.
Yeah, that is basically exactly what happened to me. I came into the rugby scene, and I did 2 years at Newcastle before I transferred back. Alan Clark actually sort of got me back as well, to finish at Queen's University. And you kind of had this student life, and it was quite hard to adapt. And you trained hard but played hard. And in my first few years with Ulster, that was definitely my attitude. I remember the year we won the league. I remember we'd been out, felt like after every game for about 4 or 5 in a row, and a couple of us said, right, no, that's it. We're not going out this weekend. We're close to winning this league, and we beat the Borders by 50 or 60 points, and we kind of went, you know what? If you can't celebrate these, what are you going to celebrate? And we went out again. And at the end of that season, after we won the league, there was a bit of an incident in a hotel room, and a few things got destroyed. And I was playing Friday, drinking Friday night, wouldn't see. Jodie was my girlfriend then. I basically spent the rest of the weekend sleeping, was going in on Monday, just trying to get through it so that I could get home. And it wasn't a particularly good environment that I was in. I could see that I'd work hard in pre-season, get into reasonable shape, well, reasonable shape for me, and you'd just spend the rest of the season trying to hang on because obviously the alcohol. And I took the decision in front of maybe a disciplinary committee at Ulster that I would go off the drink for that season and see what it did. And I just felt that I was coming in on Monday fresh, having recovered. I was ready to be better. Now, at the end of that, sort of towards the end of that season, I had a few more drinks. And I think, like you said, I tried to get a balance because, look, I enjoy the crack. It's the way I've been brought up. It's sort of I grew up in a little village called Points Pass where socialising in the pub was part of growing up and part of sort of the crack you had in meeting people. So just to get that balance, because I look back now and I think, like, what would you have missed out on if you hadn't had those big moments that you play? I remember the moments in the changing room afterwards where you're looking at each other, having a beer. I don't necessarily remember that much from the game, and it's about getting that balance. And look, I nearly learned the very hard way, because I think probably the next step for me was out of my year. But thankfully, I was able to get a little bit of control back in my life as my relationship with Jodie strengthened from it, and it actually showed me that you don't need to spend the entire season scrapping to try to keep weight off, that you can actually be and definitely improved slightly as an athlete off the back of it. But look, it is about balance. But yeah, like, I do enjoy the nights out too.
Yeah, of course, and I
If you
think
want
we
to
all
hear
do.
more about that, it's all available in his book, which is that'll give you the real insight. I mean,
I
no
was just
more
thinking,
than this
obviously, Paul, you haven't
coronavirus.
read it.
Huh? I've got two of
Listen,
them.
I'm just thinking Paul mustn't have
I'm
read
waiting
it.
on my.
It's a full
I'm
chapter,
waiting for
that.
my signed copy. My phone
Dad
signed
actually ended
copy.
up
I'm
buying
waiting
one at
for
home. I couldn't believe it.
it. So, Tommy, are you Rory's agent? Is that how this is going to work now for the remainder of this interview?
That man doesn't need an agent. He doesn't. He'd have me on a 0% commission if he had me on an agent. Doesn't like to part with his money too much, that fella.
I have heard
Tom, the
that.
only
I have
reason
heard that.
Tommy's read the book is Tommy's read the book to make sure that I haven't mentioned too much of stories involving both me and him. So I think I've been
Exactly.
very
It was
kind to
straight
everyone.
to the back to find out how many times it was mentioned.
And in what light?
So, so tell me this, Tommy, because obviously that's Rory's experience. Let's talk about maybe around the mindset of what you had in terms of going. How do you go through those levels? You know, and all the way through to getting to the very top, playing against the very best players, but also having the belief that you can actually beat the best of the best.
From my point of view, I came out of school, as I mentioned earlier, very quickly and accelerated through the levels very fast. And I got first capped for Ireland when I was 20, and with Ulster, I think I was maybe 19. So it came very, very fast for me. And certainly early on in my career, I wasn't ready for the criticism and for having maybe a bad game and the newspapers and media. And it hit me hard. It took me a long time to get used to it. And actually, it probably was around 2007. I didn't get picked for the World Cup, and that was a big blow for me. I remember, that really hit me hard because I'd been part of the Ireland squad on the whole lead up to that, and the World Cup it's the pinnacle for rugby players. So to not make that squad was a real blow. And I remember Mark McCall, who was the head coach of Ulster at the time, pulled me in and was very good at trying to, instead of me always trying to practice what I'm not good at, try to make, my weaknesses better all the time. You should concentrate more on your strengths and really work hard on your strengths, and your weaknesses will come on from there. So that was something I tried to go back to basics and really try to, excel at the things I was good at. And another thing I did was I went to see two sports psychologists. My mum kind of set that up for me, and I wasn't really too sure whether it was something I wanted to do. But I went to see two different sports psychologists. They were two very, very different people, had different opinions on things. But what I was able to do is take different things from each one of them. And certainly visualization and trigger words was something, I was only 22 or 23 at the time, but visualization in particular became a huge part of my career. Even I was never the biggest fan of training. I just really loved the matches. I got so excited about playing matches. The training was kind of the office part of the job that I didn't enjoy so much, but the visualization and trying to get myself set up for big games and having the confidence, I found that, doing the video work to see where there were opportunities before a match and then visualizing yourself taking those opportunities and being in that situation actually really helped for me. And it actually worked to the sense that as my career went on, I used to love the negativity. Used to love it when people were questioning whether I could come back from an injury, questioning whether I could make it into a team or not, because that was a real spur for me to try and show them, and that became a real big part of my motivation as my career went on.
No, it's absolutely fascinating listening to you because there's so many parallels with what you're saying and the kind of the career that I had and some of the things that I was implementing. And then, of course, now in the last 10 years, being a sports psychologist for Norwich City and Crystal Palace, and all of those techniques are what you use constantly. And I should just say again, if anyone is just joining us, we've been here 30 minutes already chatting away with Rory Best and Tommy Bowe and absolutely loving the conversation this afternoon. We are trying to raise a little bit of money for the NHS and the amazing work they're doing in the fight against COVID-19. I set off about just over 10 days ago to set up a few interviews with some of the people that I most admire and respect from the world of sport, business, and across other industries. And I'm delighted to say that we've raised over £1,000 already for just having a little chat with a few people. So really, really grateful for everybody who's given up their time and donated as well, of course. And if you would like to donate, please just go on the Just Giving website, type in McVeigh Meets, and you'll be able to search for that page there. So lads, I kind of wanted to talk and wanted to save the best for last, all around playing for Ireland, playing in the World Cups, the Lions tours, all of that. And I don't really know where to start because there's obviously so many great moments you've had. So I don't know, Roy, how would you just kind of reflect on just some of those amazing experiences, either how you thought about it, what you learned from it, maybe kind of things that you might be able to pass on those lessons to others?
I think like you said, it is hard to know where to begin. I suppose for me, because it's when I retired and it's so recent, the World Cups, and you kind of look back. I don't have any or very many regrets in my career, because I think the sort of things that we would have changed probably molded us into being better players, or else changed the way we were as players or people. So in terms of that, I've no regrets. But I do think the World Cup, I do look back at some of them and feel like 2007 was, I think it's probably the first and only time that I've ever wanted to get away from an Ireland team and just want to get home. It was a reasonably toxic environment, and we were losing, we were under pressure, we weren't staying in particularly great places, and Argentina were a class, and all of that. I got home from that. I was young, I didn't realise, I just sort of think, oh, these just happen, and there'll be more of them. But probably the next three World Cups, for different reasons, I kind of look and go, 2011, we topped our group, we beat Australia, we put ourselves in the prime position, and we just didn't play well against the Welsh team that I feel that we should have beaten and were more than capable of beating. And then 2015, it almost felt like it was taken out of our hands a bit, because of you're losing key players to the spine of your team before the game quarter-final starts. This is the biggest game in Irish rugby history at that point, or near enough. And then Tommy goes off quite early on, and we've lost sort of five, six of our top players. That they were absolutely screwed. And, you're losing sort of key players, senior players, and we just didn't react very well to it, and they ended up losing that heavily. And then obviously to lose to Japan at the latest World Cup, to end up on the wrong side of the draw and play New Zealand in the quarterfinals. Those are the ones where I kind of look back and go, I really wish that I could have been a part of a side that got the semi-final and beyond of a World Cup, because it is a big event. Six Nations Grand Slams are brilliant, but it's every year you get a crack at it. Now, we haven't won very many of them, so to be involved in a couple of them is class, but a World Cup is every 4 years, and to have created that bit of history is something that I'll always look back and think, I suppose you wonder what if.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that and I suppose that's maybe just an insight into an elite sportsman or sports person. The fact that out of that huge array of successes you've had in your career, that maybe picking out some of the things that didn't go quite as well, and almost like just brush over and gloss over those, grand slams, which obviously are incredible achievements. And Tommy, what about yourself? Because obviously there's been some real highlights, and because basically Rory's doing all the hard work and passing it to you to get, to bring it over the line.
I'm just make sure my hair's looking all right and waving to the crowd.
Well, you did
Like
that
a
all right. You
striker,
did
you
that
know
very
all
well,
about
in fairness
that,
to you.
Paul.
But it must have been just amazing to have, probably, I'm very fortunate that I did what probably millions of kids around the world wanted to do, of playing in the Premier League, and you're the same. Millions of kids, or not millions of kids, loads of kids around Ireland all wanted to
No, I'd
play
say
for
millions.
Ireland. Yeah, maybe ones
Funny, Paul,
people
I thought
don't
you were
know
going to
about.
say play for Northern Ireland. Loads of kids
Yeah,
want to play
wow.
for Northern Ireland.
That's a whole other conversation, right? Whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've done it, and then I'm always interested in the kind of the lessons from it. I suppose that's just the way my mind works. What were the lessons and the kind of key takeaways, or even just some of the things you learned about leadership and what other people were doing that you thought, yeah, I can learn from that.
Well, from my point of view, I have some incredible memories. Like Rory mentioned, the World Cups. Yeah, have so many disappointments as well, and it is sad that when you look back on a career, sometimes you almost pick up on the negatives. But it's important to remember the good times, and certainly Rory and myself had some incredible memories and incredible times. Um, in terms of things that you learn from sport, you learn so much, and it's only when you retire from it you actually see, what a rounded person uh, rugby players are. Now that I'm on the television, I'm interviewing guys who've played rugby, and you learn things like teamwork and how to get the best out of the people beside you, get the best out of yourself. Learn how to deal with setbacks, resilience. There's so many things that sports people are able to offer while they're playing, and obviously after sport. But I think it's really important just to remember the good times. My dream was always to grow up and put on a green jersey and play in Lansdowne Road, which was what the Aviva Stadium was before. And, you know, I have some wonderful memories, great times, and the change room and enjoying a beer with Rory and my teammates is so incredible. But my first cap for Ireland will always stand out for me as a day when it was a dream come true. And I think that I think that's something that's very important for people out there. I thought that dream was gone whenever I was 17, 18, 19. I thought that the dream of playing for Ireland was never going to happen. I didn't go the usual route of Ulster schools. And, I persevered and I worked hard at it, and I was dogged in determination, and it worked out in the end. And I think it's important, certainly for young people watching, that if you have a goal and you have a dream, you have to work hard at it. But if you work hard at it and put everything into it, there will be setbacks. But if you keep going, you will get there. And if you don't get there, you'll find something new that can really inspire you.
And Roy, what about this whole kind of concept of, having a plan A and going towards that? But like what Tommy was saying, if that's what your goal is and going for that, but then so many other people would say to you, but make sure you have a plan B in case your plan A doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think that we talked about earlier that Tommy and I were probably quite lucky in that we got to university. I remember graduating the summer that I started my first professional contract. So I had to leave training early to go to a graduation ceremony in July. And that was, at least I had a degree behind me. And I remember watching guys sort of trying to handle both, trying to study as they went along. And it's difficult to balance them both, especially as you go up through the ladder and when you're playing for Ireland. And I suppose that's where, like, I would agree with Tommy in that single-minded and go for what you want. Like, I remember going, like, family birthdays and everything would be no chance. Even like the night before, remember when we played England at Croke Park, and both Simon and I were in the squad, and Simon was on the bench, and it was my auntie's birthday. I'll not put a number on it in case she gets offended, but like I think he maybe went on to that, or certainly went to meet them at some point to a happy birthday, and I just said, no, I'm not leaving this hotel. I have my routine. I'm sticking to this. And there was just bits of that where it was just not a chance would I do anything that would have affected my rugby. And yeah, look, if rugby hadn't have went and had the duration that it would have had, I would have still had a degree to fall back on. But I think part of it is I was single-minded and that I knew where I wanted to go. And I think if you fall short, Tommy mentioned, if you fall short or you don't quite get exactly where you want to go, there are other avenues that'll open up, and you'll become a more rounded or a better person potentially for it. But I think probably the biggest regret you'll ever have is that if you look back and you go, you know what, I did X, Y, and Z, when maybe if I had concentrated a little bit more on my dreams, I could have fulfilled them. I think this not knowing if you could have fulfilled them or not is probably the sort of thing that keeps you awake. I talk about the disappointment of the World Cups. That's just a glance back in hindsight, but it doesn't keep me awake because I was lucky to play in 4 of them, and I've had a lot of unbelievable experiences along the way. And I think that's the big thing, is give your dreams everything, because if you don't get there, you'll have added value to yourself along the way anyway.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and you touched on the whole subject of regrets, and that's what kind of probably makes me do what I do, because I just see so many people and observe so many people without judging them, of people just doing things that they don't want to do, that don't enjoy it. And there's so many statistics and polls to say that out of everybody that goes to work, let's say in UK and Ireland, say there's like 40 million people, that about 70% of people who are in the middle, who just don't really care about what they do. So like 10 or 15% down one end really, really love it and enjoy it. And I'm probably put myself in that category. 10, 15% down the other end who absolutely hate their job, just can't be bothered, don't like it. But that leaves that 70% of, 40 million people who pretty much go to work, do something every single day, and just are a bit like, I don't really care, just take it or leave it. So having that kind of understanding of, I don't want to be getting to that kind of, 60, 70, and 80 and looking back and going, I just did a job for 40 years that I didn't even care about. It scares the life out of me.
I think as well, people I'm sure will have jobs that they don't care about, but I'm sure they'll care a lot about the people that they work alongside. And, there's always going to be stuff that we all love to complain about our work, and we all love to complain about different things we're doing. And certainly when we were playing, the fitness sessions and the constant pushing yourself. But there's always people who you're sitting beside, and there's people who you're working with, or little tasks that will always keep you motivated and keep you going back. But listen, I'm very fortunate. Rory's very fortunate. We're some of the lucky few that got to live a dream out, and not many people get to do that. But now we're in the real world, and it's important for us now to try and find something that really ticks those boxes, that makes us get up and going in the morning, and gets us wake up with a smile on our face.
Yeah, no, and I think for all of us, I'm guessing we're all trying to find that, and so I suppose the last question should go to you, Rory. After coming out of rugby after such a long time, are you going to try and follow Tommy down the presenting route? Is that something for you?
No way! I'm putting him under the spotlight.
Well, funny, Tommy
Who's the
mentioned it
real
earlier
Rory
that
Best?
he spent a career getting his hair right and making sure he's looking well. I spent my career basically sticking my head into the middle of rocks and bits and pieces to sort of try to make
That
myself as
nose is
famous as
nearly going
Tommy. And
across the screen here into your one, Paul. For God's sake, I see it.
well, that's exactly the problem. And look, I'm glad that Tommy has found, and I think it is interesting from the very start. I'm sure Tommy didn't grow up ever wanting to be a TV presenter, but the stuff that rugby offers you that are sometimes are a wee bit left field of where you thought you'd end up is just fantastic. And look, I'm I suppose looking forward to seeing what the next chapter has. And I also look back and think how privileged I was that I used to love everything, all the training. I'd been out doing extras, and a lot of my extras revolved around kicking, which I wasn't meant to be doing, but I loved. But you couldn't get me off the pitch at times, and that's just a sheer love of it. And look, well, I'm not trying to find something that's going to replicate that. I want to find something that gives you that buzz. Tommy's got it now and I've been on our sport with him, and whenever the camera's about to roll and you're a couple of seconds in, I'm looking going, how is he getting these lines out? Even a couple of the rehearsals, he didn't get them right, and he goes, "Actually, we'll just do it live," and absolutely perfect. And I'm there going, my heart was thumping, and I wasn't even the one doing it.
Yeah.
So, I think to find that is difficult, but you don't know where you're going to find it. And for me, it's about trying to work through it. At the minute, I've got a couple of different things that I'm looking at, and really just was looking forward to trying to get a little bit of structure back in my life.
Yeah, brilliant. Guys, listen, I'm just so grateful that you've spent this time with me this afternoon. Obviously, trying to do our bit, raising a little bit of money, and hopefully having a little bit of a chat, talking about some good times as well.
And remember, in all
and,
shops,
and plug
it's even available online.
it's available in
I
all
might
good
even sign
bookshops,
it for
and
you.
and I'm sure a few bad ones as well.
I'd say that's the only bit of the book Tommy's read, mind you. The front that McVeigh actually wrote to.
I can't read for writing.
Listen,
I
I've
should
just
ask
got to
Paul,
say, but
is it your
go
fault?
on,
Is it your
go
fault that
on.
Norwich are where they are then? Are you taking credit for that? I
Do
should
you know
flag
what?
them
I
seeing as
wish,
Jimmy's avid
yeah,
supporter.
mutual friend of ours has been able to hook all this up, and yeah, I don't have anything to do with Norwich, unfortunately. Now, in my couple of years as a sports psychologist there, and those days are gone. But yeah, I'd love to be able to help them out at some stage,
As
keep them
long
up
as
there.
Leeds get promoted, I don't mind.
Ah, nobody likes Leeds,
Come
Tommy.
on.
You know
It's
that.
about time we
Nobody
get
likes
Leeds back
Leeds.
up into the Premiership again.
It's all about the
Listen, guys,
championship
really,
anyway,
really
isn't it? In
appreciate it.
Middlesbrough.
Really, really appreciate just having me time. If you
Cheers.
do want to donate, please just go on the Just Giving page, type in McVeigh Meets, search on there. And tomorrow at 12 p.m., I have a guy called James Ketchell. And wait to hear this, lads. He's the only person on the planet that's ever single-handedly rode the Atlantic. He's climbed Everest and he's cycled around the world. So amazing, amazing guy. He's going to be joining me at 12 p.m. tomorrow, and I'll be streaming that across my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Apart from that, boys, thank you very much for your time again. Take care and stay safe.
Good to chat. Cheers, Paul.
Cheers.
See you, Rory.